Want to learn English at your pace on any device? Want to get excellent score in TOEFL and IELTS? Don't know what to choose? Learn English? Introducing Utorials. Utorials offers online English coaching and group classes. Utorials provide exclusively private and personal guidance from excellent tutors. Also provide unique design courses for all 4 modules of TOEFL and IELTS. Especially online courses covers sample papers and mock tests. Now we'll watch some videos how to score good in TOEFL and IELTS.
So today we're going to look at lexical resource. This is one category that your writing is scored on, 1 out of 4 categories. And I'm going to give you 5 tips to a better vocab score. Don't think that by putting in a lot of good words, you're going to get a higher score. You still need to worry about task completion. Did you answer the questions? You still need to think about cohesion and coherence. Do your ideas flow? Do they link? Is it logical? You still need to think about grammar and accuracy and sentence structure. Everything works together. It's not just one part, okay? So, first thing I'm going to tell you, and I've been saying this a lot lately, but I've been saying it for years. You're trying too hard. You're trying too hard to put in big words, okay? So a lot of you are just overreaching. I've seen some vocab in here that even native speakers in university don't use, okay? Make sure that you don't memorize the thesaurus. A thesaurus is like a dictionary, except it only gives you synonyms and antonyms. So if you're going online to use a dictionary like dictionary.com or merriam-webster.com, they'll give you a dictionary option or the thesaurus option. Use both, but don't try to memorize the thesaurus. It's a hard word to say. Thesaurus, okay? I've seen people, they're obviously just putting in every synonym they could find from the thesaurus to try to impress the graders. You're not impressing the graders. They know you're memorizing words. Make sure that the words you're using are natural. Make sure that it's the right context, the right form, everything else, and be consistent. If you have simple sentence, simple sentence, simple sentence, simple sentence, big word, that big word sticks out. And as the grader, I know that you memorize this word and we're just looking for an opportunity to use it. Doesn't help you. Which brings us to tip number 2. Don't use any word or expression that you're not 100% sure of. Okay? Make sure that you know how to use it, the meaning, you know when to use it, the context, etc. Okay? If you're not 100% sure, don't use it. Use a simpler word. Examples. This essay will argue that companies scarcely advertise products that we need. On the other hand, we have little to no use for most of the advertised products. The 2 sentences have a very clear opposite relationship. The second one says no, it's actually not what they think. It's the opposite. The problem is that on the other hand doesn't show opposite. It shows contrast. It means different way. So this is not the correct expression here. What this person wanted to use was on the contrary, to show that no, it's actually the opposite, not just different. Okay? Next, don't fall in love with any word or expression. I'll give you an example. Recent research shows troubled children were more receptive to advice, etc. This is an excellent collocation, more receptive to. The problem is that this person used it 3 times in the essay. The grader understands. You memorized this expression and you're just using it every chance you get. Use it once to show you know it. Don't use it again. Try not to repeat, but that's coming up as another tip. More is not better. If you are using too many words where there's another word that means the exact same thing, use that one word. One word is better than 3 words. On the other hand, stopping the circulation of cars in the downtown area will have some drawbacks. Stopping the circulation of. Instead, just use prohibiting cars in the downtown area. So first of all, circulation, you can't talk about cars in circulation. Money is in circulation. It goes in, around, and bank to the customer, to the bank, to the customer. That's circulation. Cars just drive. You can't take them out of circulation. There is no circulation about traffic. So you prohibit cars. Instead of using 4 words, use 1. Last one. Don't rely only on synonyms, okay? Just because you found synonyms for a word, you have 2 or 3 synonyms, even if you use that one word too many times, not good. If you use the synonyms too many times, also not good. Find other ways to express the idea.
how do I get a 120 on the TOEFL? There are 4 sections on the TOEFL: reading, listening, speaking, and writing. And you can get a maximum score of 30 on each one of them. So, to get a score of 120 on the TOEFL, you need to get a score of 30 on every one of those sections. Well, how do you do that? Let's begin by talking about the reading section. The maximum score on the reading section is 30, but there will be more than 30 questions. In fact, there will typically be at least 36. All of these questions will be worth at least 1 point, and some will be worth more than 1 point. The sum of all the points for all your questions will be your raw score. For a TOEFL reading section with 36 questions, for example, this might be 45 raw points. Now, here is the important question. Do you need to get every question correct to get a 30 on the TOEFL reading section? Not necessarily. Since there are more than 30 raw points, it is possible that you lose 1 point and your scaled score, that is, the score you get when your score is converted to the 30-point scale, is still a perfect 30. So, you might be able to get 1 question wrong on reading and still get a 30, and still have a chance to get a 120 on your TOEFL. But this is a pretty minor exception. Basically, if you are aiming to get a 120 on your TOEFL, you should be aiming to get every single question on the reading section correct. And what about listening? The scoring of the listening section is very similar. There will be at least 34 questions on the listening section, and some of them are worth more than 1 point. So, it is sometimes possible to get 1 listening question wrong and still get a 30 on listening. But, again, don't depend too much on that exception. If you're aiming to get a 120 on the TOEFL, you should be aiming to get every single listening question right. Now, let's talk about speaking and writing. These are not multiple choice questions, so it's difficult to be as precise about grading. But ETS, the company that makes the TOEFL, releases their grading guidelines for each of these sections, and we can use them to figure out what is required for a perfect score on these sections. Let's begin with speaking. There are 2 kinds of speaking questions: independent, the first 2 questions on the speaking section, and integrated, the last 4 questions. Each question is graded on a scale from 0 to 4. To get a 30 on the speaking section, you need to get a 4 on each speaking question. What do you have to do this? Here is what ETS says about responses that get a score of 4. These guidelines are for independent questions, but the guidelines for integrated are similar. The response fulfills the demands of the task, with at most minor lapses in completeness. It is highly intelligible and exhibits sustained, coherent discourse. A response at this level is characterized by all of the following. They then list 3 criteria. First, delivery. Generally well-paced flow, fluid expression. Speech is clear. It may include minor lapses or minor difficulties with pronunciation or intonation patterns, which do not affect overall intelligibility. Next, language use. The response demonstrates effective use of grammar and vocabulary. It exhibits a fairly high degree of automaticity with good control of basic and complex structures as appropriate. Some minor or systematic errors are noticeable but do not obscure meaning. Finally, topic development. Response is sustained and sufficient to the task. It is generally well developed and coherent. Relationships between ideas are clear, or clear progression of ideas. Remember, a response that gets a score of 4 needs to do all of those things. So, how do you get a 30 on TOEFL speaking? You give 6 answers in a row that all meet those standards. That's not easy to do, especially under the conditions of the TOEFL test. But it's possible. Test yourself. Try to answer 6 TOEFL questions in a row. Our speaking practice tests are a great way to do this. Record yourself. Be honest about what you've done well and not so well. Then, see if your answers all show this kind of fluid delivery, good grammar and vocabulary, and sustained development of ideas. If they do, you might be able to get a 30 on the TOEFL speaking section. And finally, writing. There are only 2 questions on writing: the integrated task and the independent task, and each of them is graded on a scale from 0 to 5. To get a 30 on writing, you need to get a 5 on each task. How do you do that? Again, we can look at ETS's own guidelines. Here is what they say about an integrated essay that gets a score of 5. A response at this level successfully selects the important information from the lecture and coherently and accurately presents this information in relation to the relevant information presented in the reading. The response is well organized, and occasional language errors that are present do not result in inaccurate or imprecise presentation of content or connections. And here is what they say about an independent essay that gets a score of 5. An essay at this level largely accomplishes all of the following: effectively addresses the topic and task, is well organized and well developed, using clearly appropriate explanations, exemplifications, and/or details, displays unity, progression, and coherence, displays consistent facility in the use of language, demonstrating syntactic variety, appropriate word choice, and idiomaticity, although it may have minor lexical or grammatical errors. To get a 30 on writing, you'll need to write 2 English essays that meet those standards. Can you do this? Test yourself. Take 50 minutes to write an integrated and an independent essay. Our writing practice test is a great way to do this. Then, see if your essays meet these standards. Be honest. If they do, you might be ready to get a 30 on the TOEFL writing section. All right, let's review. What does it take to get a 120 on the TOEFL? First, answer every reading question correctly, or almost every question. Answer every listening question correctly, or almost every question. Give high-level responses to all 6 speaking questions. And write a high-level essay for both of the 2 writing questions. Oh, that's a lot! But if you're confident in your English, it's a reachable goal.
One thing that students always ask me about, one question type that students are always worried about, matching headings to paragraphs. I have really good news for you guys. This should be one of the fastest question types to answer. Maybe you don't believe me. I understand. But believe me, okay? Honestly, guys, headings are main ideas. Where are main ideas? Where? They're almost always in the beginning or the end of the paragraph, okay? So that's where the answer is. Don't think about it too much, okay? Matching headings to paragraphs. Matching. You are matching keywords from a heading to the beginning or end of a paragraph. So let me tell you how to approach this question, step by step, all right? That's what I do. I give you the systems, step-by-step systems to help you on all parts of the IELTS test. All right, step 1, skim. We always skim the passage first. All right, take 1 minute to skim the passage, get the main idea. All right, read the beginning of each paragraph just to get the main idea. And then you look at the questions. So in this case, matching headings to paragraphs. Look at all the headings, circle keywords, okay? So you're focused on the information. And then, paragraph 1, look at the first 2 lines, only the first 2 lines. Match it to a heading. Match the keywords. Don't think about it too much. Don't read too much. Don't think about it too much, or you get the wrong answer. I promise. If you cannot match, go to the end of the paragraph. Look at the last 2 lines. Compare. Try to match it to a heading. If you cannot match, skip it. Go to the next paragraph. Okay? That's how we get the answers. And I promise you guys, at least 75% of the headings, of the answers, are in the beginning and end of the paragraphs. Okay? I promise. I've seen, looked at, examined thousands of passages, okay? Trust me, it works. The answers are there. So don't look too far. Don't think too much, all right? This should be a quick question type to answer. All right? Okay, excellent. So learn the system, practice it, and you're on your way, guys. You're saving time. You're getting the right answers. That's why we're here. All right, so thanks for being with us today, and good luck.